This video is for adjusters, homeowners, and emergency mitigation companies to illustrate what happens, specifically the mechanics behind Xactimate, when adjusters don't follow the terms of service. What's up, guys? My name is Mark Russell. I am a licensed insurance adjuster. I'm also the CEO of Clarity Market, which is a solution for emergency mitigation companies to be able to bring emergency mitigation work on their own pricing, their own terms. Ironically, Mike Fulton, you'll see at the end, actually gave me the idea. In this video, you're going to hear recorded calls with State Farm, Travelers, Kentucky Farm Bureau, Allstate, all sorts of recorded calls with adjusters admitting that they've never read the terms of service and admitting that they actually prevent their subordinates from following the terms of service that the software mandates. You'll hear Mike Fulton talk about the fact that those terms of services are in there to protect his back and to protect themselves. And by the end of this video, you are going to see just how far off the line that the carriers have gone by manipulating. You'll even hear Mike Fulton talk about an echo chamber, a problem with an echo chamber. Also, if you can't tell, you're going to hear a lot of passion. Why? I'm a passionate guy. Maybe I'm a little neurodivergent. Of course I am. That's okay. Hey, it's 2023. You can be neurodivergent and proud, baby. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with Mike Fulton right off the rip, and we're going to get into this. Guys, I sincerely hope you watch the whole thing. I know it's long, and I couldn't squeeze all of this information into a TikTok. It's because it's a lot of information. But if you dedicate the time, by the time you get done, you're going to go, whoa, that I didn't know. Okay, and it took a lot of years getting all of these recorded calls. I hope it blesses your socks off. To all the tree guys out there in the grind, doing the things we do, I want your families to be taken care of, and I want you to be able to take care of the homeowners without the insurance companies saying that they have to go get estimates while 30, 40,000 pound trees are sitting above their kids' bedrooms, because that's not okay. That's it, guys. I'm going to let it roll. Let's hear from Mike Fulton right off the rip. Because I kind of ask them often, I say, hey, have you ever read the terms of service of Xactimate? And you would not, I don't even know. Do you know how many do or don't read?
Well, I mean, when you install a piece of software, how often do you read the EULA?
I mean, I get it. But the problem is that these guys are charged with the ethical duty to like fairly indemnify the homeowners.
Yeah. So, and I've been in front of the RIA organization several times to talk about this, and they brought up terms of service and how do you enforce those things. And at some point we have to put those things into our agreement to make sure that we are covering ourselves and saying, yes, this is the way you should be using the software. This is the way you should be doing business. This is how you should be submitting pricing feedback.
So it's crazy. There's the president of Xactimate saying, how often people really read the terms of service, right? He's saying maybe no one, maybe never. His thing is, how often do you, right? Here's the deal, guys. Most people don't know that when you save an estimate, when an adjuster saves an estimate, that pricing that they enter is shot back into the system, and it averages either up or down against their core database to be used on future claims. So the problem is if you don't follow two principles that we're going to get into here in just a minute, then it skews their data from reality. We're going to get into that here in a minute, but let's just look at, do adjusters actually read the terms of service or not? Let's listen to a few.
Morning, Travelers. Giovanni speaking. How can I help you?
Have you even ever read the user license agreement?
From Xactimate?
Yeah.
No.
Thank you for calling the Arborist. This is Mark. May I help you?
Hey, Mark. This is Michael Latero with Travelers Insurance. How are you?
Hey, Michael. How are you? Have you ever read the terms of service with Xactimate out of curiosity?
No.
Thank you for calling the Arborist on a recorded line. This is Mark. May I help you?
Mark, it's Robert.
Have you ever read Xactimate's terms of service?
No.
Isn't it amazing that the very people who are deciding the payouts of the contractors have never even read the terms of service?
Like this idea with billions of dollars, like I just have a huge problem with Xactimate. The fact that last time we talked, have you read the terms of service yet since we talked last?
Heck no. Do you? Man, I have so many claims that I love this job, but at the same time I have so many claims that I have to handle.
Not just no, but heck no, Robert from Travelers says. Now, this may get a little boring, but I'm just going to keep on playing these so you can get a sense of how prevalent this is in the marketplace. Because who does read the EULA? The president of Xactimate says he questions it himself. Let's keep on going.
Thank you for calling the Arborist. This is Mark. May I help you?
Yeah, Mark, Tom at State Farm Claims.
Just out of curiosity, have you ever read the terms of service of Xactimate, the end user license agreement?
No, I don't think I have. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. Why?
Thank you for calling. This is Mark. May I help you?
Hi, Mark. Kratina Lawrence calling from State Farm Insurance Company, calling at your request to speak to a member of management.
Have you ever read the terms of service on Xactimate out of curiosity?
I have not, but I guess I'm trying to understand.
Thank you for calling Allstate, where you're in good hands. This is Gary. How may we help you today?
Hey Gary. My name is Mark Russell, calling on a recorded line.
He's got here, and I'm trying to, and I'm, you know, he's got.
I'm absolutely shocked that you have never read the terms of service, yet you've been using that service, that software for years.
You know how many claims I have to work per day? You would be shocked.
I know, but the problem is that you're dealing.
Stop and take that time to. I mean, you don't have that kind of look. I'm taking 4 days off just to get caught up on my own personal business coming the end of next week, because 12 hours a day behind this computer, I can't even get caught up on my own stuff.
Thank you for calling the Arborist. This is Mark. May I help you?
Mark, my name is Art Longacre. I'm a claims manager with Kentucky Farm Bureau.
I do have a question. Have you ever read the terms of service of Xactimate?
Not that I recall, but I'm not sure how that's relevant.
Thank you for calling. This is Mark. May I help you?
Hi, Mark. This is Kathy Carter calling from Farmers Insurance.
Have you ever, just out of curiosity, have you ever read the terms of service on Xactimate?
No.
Okay, Russell, we get it. They haven't read it. Who cares? What does it mean? Well, this is what it means, and let's get right to the nitty-gritty. Here it is. This is Xactimate's terms of service. This is what I want you guys to see. And this, first, right off the rip, Xactware does not warrant the accuracy of the data. That's what Mike was talking about earlier. He's like, look, we're going to wash our hands of this. We've designed a system to function a certain way. And you're probably going to be like, okay, well, of course, any software is going to be designed to function a certain way. Russell, tell us how it's supposed to function. What are you talking about? Okay, well, let's look at it. Listen, guys, it's all about, listen to me this, it's all about a feedback loop. If the adjusters never read the terms of service, they put back in the same thing they get out, and they never perform their function the way that they're supposed to perform. So here we go. Price data is intended to be a historical information to be used, how? As a baseline or a place to begin the creation of an estimate, not to end it. Okay? Not to end it. Now, I'm going to take a second and just tell you, adjusters typically are not allowed to change the value of the line items that Xactimate presents. Look, it says, you are responsible to ensure that the estimates that you make include pricing consistent with components including but not limited to actual. Now, this is going to get heavy duty in a minute, guys. Actual equipment, labor, and equipment pricing. You acknowledge and understand that the pricing data provided is part of the licensed product, is intended to target the most representative price of all of the various price points collected relevant to the specific line item in question. Okay, so what's that saying, adjusters, is that, look, we're going to give you one price, but there's a lot of prices out there, And you need to know that there are a lot of prices out there. What they're telling you is coming up on the next line. I want you to see this. This is really, really important, because if you don't understand how it works when you hit the save button, then you are part of the problem. You are part of non-indemnification of homeowners. And homeowners, this is the reason, with adjusters not reading the terms of service, the reason why Xactimate comes in so incredibly low sometimes is because adjusters don't understand that. So let's get on to the next part. And that is, having this single represented price item means some are higher, some data are higher, and some are lower than that's which reported. Here's the crux. You agree not to prohibit or preclude deviations. What does that mean, deviations? That means that when you start with a line item price from what we give to you and you run into another price in the future, you agree to enter it. You agree not to prohibit or preclude deviations from price data where contractor requirements, market conditions, demand, the one I love, or any other factor warrants the use of a different line item price in the specific situation. Okay? So let me make this really clear. Adjusters, what this is saying is when you go into Xactimate on mitigation work, if there is a company out there that is agreed with a homeowner, let's just say for a Bobcat at $100 or at $70 an hour, and Xactimate presents that unit to you at $50 an hour, you are bound by the terms of service to enter 70 into the system, because when you hit save, it's going to go back into their database through exact analysis, and it's going to slightly uptick or downtick, whether you go down or up from the price that they present. Because remember, what they give you is only a starting place. They think they have the price right. But when adjuster after adjuster after adjuster doesn't do this, then Xactimate really starts skewing from what the true market price. And I know that your boss has told you this is the true market price. You can't change the price. But don't you see? Listen, this is the president saying that it is a mega problem when you don't change the price. Just listen to it. Here, listen to this part right here. Hot Topics discussion. This is on YouTube, guys. This is a reaction video. So give credit where credit is due. But let's listen to this one quote about him getting back what they put out.
Well, estimate uploads, any estimate that's completed in the system and returned to our system automatically gets reviewed from a feedback perspective. But
okay, automatically, what does that mean? Here he goes. Like, is that an algorithmic thing? And I'm going to show you another video here in just a second.
Challenge that we have, that those restorers in the field have, is that they may be incented, for lack of a better word, to just use.
Incented. What? Incented. Let's go back and listen. Incented means like financially incented by time, but it is crazy. That's, for lack of a better word, incented, Mike, is a fabulous word, because I think that there are definitely insurance companies who are definitely incented to give you back the same thing that you give to them, especially when we talk about dilution. We're going to talk about dilution here in just a little bit, guys, and your mind is going to be blown when we get to the word actual. Okay, so let's just play that again.
Use the price that Xactware publishes, so we're getting the same thing back. Is that they may be,
here we go,
incented, for lack of a better word, to just use the price that Xactware publishes, so we're getting the same thing back to us that we sent out. Okay. And if you just, if a machine is just looking at that, the machine's saying everything looks good, you know, they're using the price that we're publishing.
Okay, so all credit to Mike Fulton. Let me just say this. Listen, I'm not throwing him under the bus, because the product is beautifully thought through. But the problem is, adjusters, is you are not adjusting the way that the product is designed to be made, because your boss is telling you that you cannot make an adjustment. Okay? Hold on just a second. Let me just play another clip for you to illustrate what happens. And this is out of Mike Fulton's own mouth. Let me play another clip for you. Is this too pokey? You got to go.
No, no. It's not too pokey. It is. I do have to run in just a minute. And Mark, I'm happy to reschedule or schedule another.
Yeah.
But I think we need to get into a larger conversation about how this is the cycle that is used. And we realize it's used in a certain way that doesn't work out best. I mean, it's like the guy that's this is the analogy I literally use in front of other people. Is there's a radio DJ who walks to work every day down this street, and every day he walks past this clock shop, and he looks in the window and he sees the time, and he sets his watch by the clock. Right? Okay. He goes into the radio and he announces the time of day. Right? And then one day he stops in the clock shop and he said, "Hey, I just got to ask you, where do you get your time of day?" And he said, "Well, I listen to this guy on the radio."
That's it.
This is the problem that we got to get out.
So look, guys, I know I get hyper. I don't want to throw Mike Fulton under the bus, and I hope this isn't coming across. Can you see how cool this guy is? Like, he recognizes that loop happens. And this is pointed to you adjusters, especially to guys like you, Brian. I'm really upset, Brian, that you don't let your subordinates change the line item price. Let's go into it a little bit. Mike is sitting here saying that this is a problem. Let's listen to Brian with Travelers Insurance. I'm not out for blood with Mike Fulton at all. Because honestly, guys, as a computer guy myself, like, the system is so neat. It's designed for adjusters to be thermometers so that when they start out with a price to build their estimate, and then when they encounter a price that's different, as the software says, you have to change either higher or lower. And when they send it back in, then that core database is going to go up or down. That's their big challenge. Mike's public about it. But the thing is, you adjusters don't even realize it. Like, now we see a bunch of adjusters that never even knew. Let's look at Brian with Travelers. Here, let's listen to this. It's going to get a little bit meta real quick because I'm just going to show you my edit, but here we go. There we go.
We need to move on to other things, but I mean, because you don't use Xactimate, so again.
So he admits right there, I don't use Xactimate. He knows it. Okay, so he's admitting you have another price structure that's out there. Remember the part. You warrant that if you encounter another price other than the one we present. So he's like, I recognize this is another price. Now just listen.
And like, I'm just trying to figure out if there's a way to negotiate a price to come to an agreement.
So that's his intent, is to negotiate. The homeowner has already signed. The homeowner has already hired us. We have 350 claims paid in full. And Xactimate, Brian Wilson, is digging his heels in, and he's saying, we're not going to talk to you. We want to negotiate. And I'm like, no, Brian, no thank you.
Yes, there is. Put it as a bid item. Pull all that bullcrap off of your estimate so that you don't further corrupt the data, and put a 3% discount on it.
Okay, so just to be nice, I offer him 3%, and I even explained directly to him, hey, Brian, don't put feedback into the Xactimate's system that is going to further erode the integrity of the data. Let's keep on going.
But as it is right now, this is in violation of the terms of service. And when you hit feedback and send those pricing back in, you're going to further strengthen a lower price point. So, yeah, that's how I would suggest would be the way to do it.
To me, it feels like, especially managers, should have some ethical, like, responsibility. If they're going to say that this is the valid market price, they should understand and use the terms according to. So let's keep on listening.
Because apart from that, in my opinion, I've tried to show you, hey, look, dude, this is where you've agreed to enter actual data, like actual hours.
So I am doing everything that I can, guys, to bring this to Brian Wilson and say, look, enter the thing. Put it as a bid item if you want.
That's the thing that, like, I know that you want to just get this one off of your plate, but this isn't just one for me.
See, because the problem is when he saves it, if he doesn't do actual, I'm going to run into future bigger problems in the future. That's the biggest issue with this.
Every time I come to the table, especially with travelers, Brian. And what I'm very interested, what is this thing? What are these guidelines you're talking about?
Okay, so he mentioned that there are guidelines that travelers have that honestly, guys, I think that we should have some sort of like look into whatever these guidelines, because he's going to talk about them here in a minute. Listen to this.
What is that?
I mean, just like we have estimating guidelines that we follow and that we, stuff of. So, I mean, yeah, that's what those, are not public knowledge. That's the stuff we use for training to train our adjusters. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but, I mean, again, we're not going to agree.
Okay, so he has whatever it is, guidelines, not public knowledge. I'll bet you it's not. Here it comes. I wouldn't want it to be public either, Brian. When you're like willfully violating the terms of service and not entering the correct data, I would think that that would be a problem. And I've got stacks, Brian, stacks and stacks of places where Travelers has flagrantly diluted the value, the per line item value. Let's keep on going.
Just a 3% markdown. I mean, if that's the only way, then, that's an impact.
Hey, Brian.
So I offer him 3% just to make it go away, and he says no. And I'm like, well, forget it then. We'll go to court, right? But now we're going to put this out in the public ear so everyone knows how this works.
I mean, if that's the only way, then, that's an impact.
Hey, Brian, are those guidelines, does it say anything about being able to adjust Xactimate pricing per item? Does it mention anything about that subject and, like, prevent you from being able to do that?
So, we pay what's customary and reasonable, and that's really what...
Please listen to this. We pay what's customary and reasonable. Okay, I'm drawing him into the specifics about changing the value. That's the most important part. Let's listen to this.
Sure, but is this like internal process in training your guys? Is there anything that like limits them from changing the line item price for a particular item, raising it if they need to, or lowering it if so be the case? Are you guys allowed to do that?
We typically don't change labor rates just because, again...
Did you hear that? Brian Wilson, with Travelers, we typically don't change the labor rates. Feedback loop. And Brian, you're not using the system as it's intended, as you agreed. Just keep on listening to this last part.
But do you allow your guys to do it? Is it allowed?
I don't.
You don't allow anybody underneath you to do it?
No, sir.
Guys, it can't get any more clear than that, but you know what you might be saying? You might be like, well, Mark, that's just Brian Wilson with Travelers. Are there any other guys? Let me be clear.
Thank you for calling. This is Mark. May I help you?
Hey, Mark, this is Josh over at State Farm. How you doing?
So the weird thing that they said that you have to meet or beat my price, like meet my price or go higher in order to put a bid item in?
Yes.
Well, why don't you just change the price per hour on stuff?
I see that State Farm's smart enough to know that I can't change the pricing.
I'm not making this up. State Farm is smart enough to know that he can't change the pricing. Listen to what he says after this.
It's based on zip code.
Oh, you're not allowed to change the pricing? Your boss prevents you from doing that?
It just ain't my boss. My boss's boss's boss has set up the program to where we have no access to that area.
Oh, you don't even have the ability to go in and change your line items?
We can change the line items. but not the pricing for the line items. Does that make sense?
I mean, it makes sense, but have you ever read the terms of service on Xactimate?
The terms of services are through State Farm. I don't have, I'm telling you, my access is limited. All I could do is build line items.
I mean, honestly, when I hear that, you guys, knowing how it works, hearing him talk, his boss's 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 boss that do not allow them to change the line items. And that makes me feel sad because there are homeowners all across the country in good faith who, in good faith, trust State Farm, okay, to indemnify them, to bring them back to a pre-loss condition. In good faith, they give their money and they say, okay, State Farm, when we have a problem, we're going to trust that you will indemnify. And they are, I mean, just listen to it. He says, boss's 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 boss. Guys, feedback loop. Let's talk. Let's go to Mike Fulton on that issue with boss's 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 boss. Okay, this one's on YouTube, guys, and it is, let's see, it's from Rhea. I think actually Mike Fulton talked to me about this one, but listen to Mark Springer. Basically explains a situation where there was like an insurance carrier. Let's see. Let's go back a little bit.
So we had to change our pricing, and the carrier basically sent an email out to a bunch of other people that work in their company and said, if those guys change the pricing, tell the customer they got to pay the difference. And I shared that story with you, and you were surprised and had some comments that I think our members would be surprised about. Could you share kind of your thoughts on that as far as how, if that's using your program according to its intent?
So according to its intent, that's what we're talking about, is it getting used according to its intent? Here comes Mike Fulton.
Fortunately, while it's interesting, it's really not surprising. First of all, it really doesn't fit in with the way.
Okay, isn't it weird? He says it's interesting, but people misusing is not surprising. And then you go back to his comment earlier that says, yeah, we've got this in here to cover their tails, right? The little piece of like legal disclaimer to cover our tails. Right now, he's saying, hey, it's not surprising. And he says, hey, watch the watch example. It's a feedback loop. Just listen.
In which the application was intended to be used. And I frankly don't believe it fits in with the understanding of how the application should be used or is directed to be used, at least amongst the senior leadership within the insurance carrier organizations that I speak to. I've had discussions with them most recently on that and have been able to confirm that.
So he says that he has spoke with senior leadership at the big carriers, and he's saying, hey, they're washing their hands. Senior leadership is saying, hey, this is not what we're doing. But yet the frontline adjuster, I'm like, oh, it's your boss. And he's like, oh, no, this is my boss's 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 boss. Guys, it's hard to conceptualize, but this is actually happening. There is a huge gap that gets formed when these adjusters aren't allowed to use the program, right? But let's look at Mike Fulton, what he says about the true, most accurate price.
The accurate or the right price is not something that's global in nature. It's really specific to the job. It's based upon the location, the accessibility, the conditions, the consumer, or the customer, and frankly, what your company is dealing with and your needs are with regard to overheads, target margins, et cetera.
Here it comes.
And really, the accurate price for any job is something that's between the buyer and seller, et cetera. And really, the accurate price for any job is something that's between the buyer and seller.
The accurate price for any job is something that's between the buyer and seller. And then you get guys like Brian Wilson that says, no, we won't do 3% because we've got other tree services bowing to us and bowing to the slave master of Xactimate that we are putting on their back. And so if you don't, you're not getting any money. Take us to court. In fact, let's just go ahead and look at Mike Fulton's face when I tell him about how far off Travelers was and a court case that my company has to take someone to court over it. Hold on just a second. It was $11,000 and he paid $3,000 on it.
He paid an addition. So your invoice was for 11 grand, and he reduced that to 3 grand.
$3,000. That's how bad it is. I mean,
you need to find an industry consultant or an attorney or something like that. Is the only that's all my only suggestion. I don't know how you do it otherwise. I don't understand. So this is, I mean, it's got to happen all the time. I mean, I don't often talk to people about this particular problem, but it's got to happen all the time. You submit an invoice and somebody comes back and says, all right, I've entered what I think is the appropriate invoice into Xactimate, and this is what we're going to pay. At some point, there's got to be a meeting of the minds that says, how did you get this reduced scope from the invoice that I gave you of my actual costs of what I invoiced for this job?
I mean, I get that.
That's why this is how lawyers make their living, right?
I guess. The problem is they don't talk to me. They're not going to talk to me. I just have to put liens on people's houses, Mike. That's what sucks.
You can't get, so they're giving a,
he won't.
So that's, I guess that's the thing that you could do. I mean, I'm spitballing here, right? Is you end up having to put the policyholder in between the two of them.
I know, I do, and
here's the invoice, Mrs. Jones. You got to pay this, and then you can deal with your insurance.
Mike, I do. I put a lien on their house, and Traveler says we don't care about the lien. We're going to pay what Xactimate tells us to pay, and they like completely annihilate any sort of. They do not pay attention. They say everything's on its own merits. We're not going to look at reasonable. Yeah, you can't get a crew of 6 men 45 minutes away on a spur of the moment for $3,000 with a skid steer chipper, 2 trucks, or 5 men. You can't get that to happen.
I would agree.
We're just going to play that one more time. What did he say there?
I would agree.
So now let's actually go, because he talked about earlier that the most accurate price is between a buyer and seller. All of that being said, let's look at what Mike Fulton talks about on the spread of what's reasonable on his own house. Hold on just a second. Listen to this.
So accuracy is kind of a misnomer. What we're publishing, therefore, rather, is because there's a range of prices. And I know, hell, I just got bids to have a sinkhole in my driveway repaired with asphalt. I got a bid for 20 grand and I got a bid for 5 grand.
Okay.
And I got everything in between. Last spring, I got bids to do a whole house generator, a Generac generator. I had bids that range from 12 to 21 grand. So what's accurate? It's what we're trying to do is say, look, of this range of prices, here's a price that's somewhere in the middle so that you can have some comfort of knowing. And so we don't warrant the accuracy of the prices. It's information.
It's information only, yet he gets a 4X price bid on his driveway. Okay, we've got guys like Brian Wilson who are absolutely tripping on 3 points and trying to force me to go lower when I have 350 claims paid in full, and Traveler's doing all of this shenanigans. Mike Fulton in the terms of service saying, we don't represent any of this. There's no warranty on this price. Let's just keep on going. I'll get off that subject. Let's listen to some more State Farms.
Hello, thank you for calling the State Farm Claims. This is my Twan speaking.
How did you come up with your pricing?
Xactimate was used.
Now, do you, just out of curiosity, I'm just curious, have you ever read the terms of service with Xactimate?
Briefly, you mean that they say it's estimates and it's subject to change?
No, not that part. So when you say briefly, I'm assuming you're not intimately familiar with their terms of service.
I'm not.
Okay.
What point are you trying to make here?
Do you realize that when you save a file off, that file saves and goes back to Exact Analysis, and they use that file to adjust for future claims? Did you know that?
I was not aware of that.
Yeah.
Thank you for calling State Farm. This is Charles speaking. How can I help you?
The rate. Are you allowed to change
We don't change any rates, sir. We don't change we don't change the rates.
Are you allowed by your manager to change the rate in Xactimate?
I just answered your question, sir. I'm not sure what you're trying to get me to say, sir, but we don't change the rates. I guess you're highlighting on what you're presenting to State Farm.
I mean, I'm highlighting the terms of service that every user of the system agrees to use. Now, if you notice, the second highlighted line says you agree not to prohibit or preclude deviations from price data where contractor requirements, market conditions, demand, or any other factor warrants the use of a different line item in the specific situation. The line item price. So what that's
we
saying,
don't
Charles,
change the price. We don't change the pricing, sir. That's what I tried to explain to you.
I know, but that's
But
the
you're telling us that we're supposed to.
Thanks for calling State Farm. This is David. May I help you?
a median between a high and a low. Okay? And if you encounter a different price, that you agree to change the price, not to add extra hours. And so the problem is, are you allowed, when you said they flag, were you saying they flag if you change the price?
Yeah, can't do that. That's not an option with us.
We're getting close. We're just listening to more and more of them. Just bear with me. We'll get to the Allstate dilution here in just a minute. But just hang tight with me. I know that there's a lot of them, but I just really want to drive the point home.
Thank you for calling the Arborist. This is Mark. May I help you?
Mark, this is Shaka giving you a call back.
Hey, with State Farm.
Yes. Go ahead and get it figured out.
Do you use Xactimate?
Yes. Everything is
Do you like
Xactimate.
Do you like Xactimate?
No. But I have
That's
to
funny.
use it. State Farm does.
Yeah, I have two questions for you. Number one, this is just curiosity's sake. Have you ever read the terms of service of Xactimate?
No, I
The
did not.
end user. You have not ever read the end user license agreement?
No.
Oh, that is so crazy to me. Okay.
Thank you for calling the Arborist. This is Mark. May I help you?
Hi, Mark. My name is Joy. I was calling from State Farm in regards to an invoice that we have. Okay.
Oh, one last question I have for you. Have you ever read Xactimate's terms of service?
No, I have not, sir.
You should go read it. That you agree not to preclude any other valid pricing, any other valid price that strays from their price. Did you know that?
No, sir, I did not, but I'll make sure to read that now.
Hey, for calling State Farm, this is Robert speaking.
Does your management allow you to change the per unit price when you encounter a new price line?
No, not really.
Okay, now we're finally at the place. Let's talk about dilution. We're going to start with travelers. Let's listen to Mr. Latero. I think it's Michael Latero. We're going to start off, then we're going to go to Allstate.
Thank you for calling the Arborist. This is Mark. May I help you?
Hey, Mark, this is Michael Latero with Travelers Insurance. How are you?
Is that if you reject valid price data because your upper management says, no, you can't change that bid item, then what it does, and you come back, and even for that matter, if you said, well, I can't put it at this much per man hour, but I'll throw some extra man hours in there to get to your price. See, by doing that, what that does is that averages down. And have you ever seen that done before? Like where you can't change the price per hour, so you throw some extra hours in?
Yes.
So there's Michael saying, look, sometimes I have to get to a price, but I can't get to that price. And he's like we saw earlier with travelers, they don't allow their subordinates to change the price, total violation of the terms of service. So there he is. He's like, what do I do? Well, and maybe it's him or maybe he said he's seen it. They add extra units. Now, think about this, guys. It's like the feds. They're printing units. Like the Fed prints dollars. When these insurance companies print extra units, then it devalues or adds dilution to the value of each unit that they're putting in. So it's amazing when you think about it. So if they have 8 units for a Bobcat at Xactimate's putting it at $100 an hour, but the homeowner agrees to $150 an hour. which, according to Mike, is not that far off. I mean, his own driveway, 5,000 to 20,000. Let's just say we're at a 50% increase. Well, then I would say that's a valid price point. So travelers enter the new price, but they don't. Instead, they add extra units, false data, falsely adding data. And then they tell the public that this database that they're using is the true price. And it's a total manipulation. And it's a big sales job into homeowners who are trusting them. The homeowners are trusting to be indemnified. And then the contractors out here are saying, hey, this is our rates. And then you get guys calling you from travelers, digging in their heels and saying, we're not going to pay you because you won't bow to our rates that are an Xactimate that we're manipulating. And then Mike Fulton's over there washing his hands. Look, let's listen to the Allstate one.
Let's assume that the Bobcat, and so we'll get it really narrow because I want to understand, because maybe I'm mistaken here. Let's assume everything in the category was the same. Let's say it was an 8-hour day. And let's say you guys have it at $50 an hour and we have it at $70 an hour. So your price is going to come in category to category is exact same. Your price is going to come in at $400 and our price is going to come in at $560. Are you going to allow, and is it Allstate's policy to allow to change that number from 50 to 70?
Well, it could go both ways. For one, if it is warranted, typically, if everything remains the same, it's just a scoping difference. If that Xactimate line item had 8 hours, due to the market and material pricing, an additional line item could be added for that.
So would you?
Hold on, just a additional hours.
Oh, so you would add additional hours in that case?
Yes, we would add additional hours and put a note there due to the market conditions due to the market condition and pricing within that area. That's why the additional line item would be warranted, but we would have to explain why it is because of due to the market conditions.
But for sure, you wouldn't just put 8 hours at
no.
You wouldn't put 8 hours at $70. You wouldn't put eight, like if we went to the customer and said, this is our price, a Bobcat is $70 an hour, and the customer agreed to that price, then you would simply say, well, we're not going to give you 8 hours, we'll give you some extra hours and get you up to that total price. Is that what I'm hearing?
So no, we will give it to 8 hours, but if due to the market conditions and it required that within that area that is the scoping price of it, then yes, an additional line item will be included within there to explain why it was warranted.
And then you would add extra hours.
And that is correct.
And that is correct. So there we have Lee, a manager at Allstate, just flat out saying, nope, we're not changing it. So we're going to add extra units. Guys, now you see it. I got it out there. Hopefully, maybe we can make a difference. Hopefully, you'll share this. I did tell you, listen, we started Clarity Market as a result of seeing all this, because now there's a place where contractors can put their rates up online. Right now, it's available for trees. In the future, it'll be available for fire mitigation, for water guys. We got to add all those categories. But I want to show you maybe one of the funniest things. And again, listen, shout out to Mike Fulton. He doesn't even know this, but one of his videos was the video that like triggered my mind and was like, whoa, I can actually create this. So this is the video. You guys check this out. It is a little bit funny. Now, when I think about it, listen to this. This is on YouTube, guys. This is, again, Hot Topics discussed, little reactionary video. Okay, so just
we'll work within that estimate and work within that price that we've published, and then reach out to us on the back end so that we can adjust that price on a going forward basis.
Okay, so what he just said there is like, sometimes, we're going to give a price and you just have to work with it. Now listen, you just have to work with it. We're going to send the price out, you restoration guys. You just have to work with it. Now listen to what he talks about with the lag. Listen, this is on restoration, not on mitigation. Just listen.
That causes some challenges because it's a delay.
It causes challenges because it's a delay. Listen.
Getting a price that I need to get for that thing today for this particular job. But it's kind of the world that we have to live in.
Okay. It's a world, Mike, let's be clear. Now this, I'm not meaning to get salty, but Mike, I know you used to be in construction. And so it's the world we have to live in, Mike, not you. You're not in Atlanta doing construction anymore. He used to live in Atlanta. Okay. So I don't like that delay, but guys, listen to what he says after this. It's awesome.
Until we can be more proactive about those things and get things moving more quickly.
Oh, by the way, Mike, if you want to partner and get access to Clarity Market data to update your system, I'd love to talk to you about that.
Personal preference.
Here's his personal preference. Listen.
Would be for us to get to more of a true competitive bid type of situation.
A true competitive bid type of situation? Where might they have that?
And I think you see this in other markets. In the EU, they do it.
In the EU? Tell us about it, Mike.
Quite often, it's called a tendering process.
Oh, a tendering process.
Okay.
Contractors will just upload their price list for a thing to a site. And then once you have a scope from which to work, the carrier can say, I want you to price out this scope with everybody in this particular market and show me who's giving care.
Oh, you mean like Clarity Market, Mike? Oh, how cool. Well, what we did, guys, is we went ahead and added just a little bit to that. Number one, our pending patent tracks where everyone is with electronic geofences for mitigation, guys, because he was talking about restoration. But when I heard that, I was like, oh, I think I can do this. So that's what we did, Mike. Thank you for the idea. Here it is, guys. Here it is. We actually just put it up. Here it is. Look, guys. Look. That is it. Example job. You do your job cost breakdown. This is the back end of the site. You search it. And guys, this is the game changer. Okay? This is what we're talking about. This is when you have a job. These are all comparables, guys. This is it. Okay? But this would be after the job has been done. Basically just recreating the same exact scope for the same exact line items. This is what Mike was talking about. This is what he said. I wish we had this. Woo! Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. That is what we're talking about. Okay? This is it. Plus, look at all those beautiful circles. Those circles represent the areas that the tree services will work in. Okay? These are electronic. That's the pending patent. And then you can just go in and download instantly. Guys, look at this. So now all of a sudden, this is still in beta. It's still in beta. But now all of a sudden, you get to just compare all of these different quotes. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is it. This is the vision. I'm telling you guys. Listen, that's how easy. Oh, the carriers want to cry. Oh, okay. Well, let me just show you what everybody would have charged. And it's all, this isn't collusion. This isn't coming together. This isn't agreement. Why? Why is it not collusion? And that is because of the directory. It's just like Amazon, you guys. Look, DIR. And we're going to get it better in the future. But look, this is the directory. You got all of the tree services simply putting up. They're putting up their pricing. Look, there's drop zone tree service. Okay? Just like Amazon, just like eBay. It is simply like Yellow Pages or Yelp. Here we are. Here, hire us. Just like an online. That's what it is. It's an online directory that has the whole process. This is a free, open, unencumbered, efficient marketplace that allows homeowners, supports competition, and allows homeowners to receive the valuable services and stay safe, receive the valuable services and stay safe to get their family safe without all of the shenanigans of, oh, leave the tree on your house for the next week while you go get estimates. Because you don't get estimates when you get wheeled into the emergency room. You don't shop around for the cheapest ambulance. When time is of the essence, you get the work done. And Clarity Market allows for competitors to compete in an open, free, efficient marketplace and then simply build the estimates afterward. It's a beautiful system. So go join up, guys. Thank you for putting up with me. I know I'm kind of hyper, but I'm so excited because this is going to change the industry, and we're here to uplift you guys and let you guys take care of the homeowners. That's it. Go sign up. I'm going to end it right there. Guys, you guys take care. Bye-bye.